citizens at our meeting tonight. Glad to see y'all. We have a couple citizens hearings. We'll go ahead and go with Catherine Coleman will be first.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And as we all know, the administration of the city of St. Clairsville has been engaged in a campaign to sell our water to Aqua Corporation and basically give away all control over our water and sewage to a private corporation whose first responsibility is to their stockholders. And while I was on the water committee, I asked a lot of questions about the viability and the wisdom and the reason for the sale. Despite my asking questions over and over again, such as, is there a buyback clause, performance clause, is there a guarantee of updating and replacing our old infrastructure, and where is the $11 million going to go that St. Clairsville will get? None of my questions were ever answered. I was met with stonewalling, with vacillation about selling the actual reservoirs, and irritation that I kept asking questions. I was told the lawyers would hammer it out. When I asked if we would meet with lawyers after they fine-tuned this, I was told no, and then the water committee was abruptly dissolved by the mayor. And despite constant concern and citizens not wanting to sell our water, I was told that this cannot be on the ballot, nor can it be delayed. Aqua is being shoved down our throats. When a councilman asked at the last meeting to delay it, he was curtly told, no, this can't be delayed. So I did a request form via the sunshine laws to the EPA, and I received a lot of information. One of the most interesting was a letter dated March 11th from the EPA acknowledging the departure of our Class 3 operator. And Mr. Zucal was told immediately that we needed to obtain a Class 3 operator. And I can read from the letter. It says, I quote, immediately obtain an appropriately certified ORC to be on site to perform technical operation of the public water system. And here's the best part. Failure to have an appropriately certified operator of record by March 26, 2019 may result in civil, or administrative penalties up to $25,000 a day. $25,000 a day. Here's where we've been brought to. I talked to the same gentleman today, Mr. Legg. Nothing has changed. So there can be civil penalties because we do not have a Category 3 operator. Mr. Zucal sent a letter on March 22nd asking for a 6-month extension. It was granted. That 6 months will be up on September the 11th. And I think this is the reason for the urgency of selling this to Aqua. So that rather than doing what should have been done and getting that Class 3 operator for which we'll be fined, we have a press agent on board from Columbus to talk us all into selling our water. Great move. There are 2 Category 2 operators at our plant. Have either of them been offered the opportunity to go get their certification and take the test so that we have a level 3 operator? I would like to see, please, and I'm sure the rest of the city would appreciate, if I were to come back in on Friday, I'll give you my email address, I would like to see copies of all the grants you have applied for in the past several years and the turning down by the agencies of these grants. I'd also like to know if you did put something out to get a Category 3 operator. And I'd like copies of the independent contract assessment of the costs that you put out. That was a lovely piece in the paper today, by the way. That was a good job, the article about the water. But I'd like to know where all the numbers come from that you get. So, again, I appreciate your time, but I just wanted to make sure that truly this has been transparent procedure. Thank you.
Thank you.
$25,000.
Pardon?
So have we tried to get a Class 3 operator?
Here, this could be a long debate. We have been granted an extension. Ms. Fallon is correct. In March, I wrote a letter to the EPA. We were granted a 6-month extension. It's not so simple as that you say to a Class 2 operator, I want you to be a Class 3. You have to have X amount of hours. You have X amount of continuing education courses. you have to have X amount of training, and then when you fulfill those requirements, you take a physical test to become a Class 3. So I can assure you, our water's safe, we followed all the protocol that we need to follow. Our intention is, if we're not there at that time, we'll ask for another extension, because we have no violations that are the result of not having a Class 3. So we're in good standing as far as that goes, and I'll be glad to keep council informed.
So that,
I'd like to add that I have talked with Greg Butler, the chief of the EPA, a number of times, and we've talked about this subject. And if it should be that Aqua would be the company that was selected to privatize our service, I had also asked him if we could work with Aqua and pay an operator to come here as a Class 3, because a Class 3 is an expensive proposition, especially to come here, not Dayton or Columbus or Cleveland, where it seems a Class 3 comes and that's where they go to pretty fast for the bucks.
Could I ask, sir, is it $25,000 a day?
We're not in jeopardy.
I'm not going to just bait things with you. I can say I was told by the EPA the day before Thanksgiving that if I didn't have an operator record at our sewer plant by 4:30 that day, and Mr. Zucal was in a hospital at that time, that I would be fined $5,000 a day. But what Mr. Butler told me was that he'd be more willing to work with me. So, and to answer one of your big concerns, would it be fair to go out and look for a Class 3, since we don't have to right now, and hire him, and then if it was sold to Aqua, maybe jeopardize a man's job that moved here? There are no Class 3 in this valley that's going to come to work here. And that's been a big concern of yours the whole time, was employees. I don't think that's good to do to anyone.
no, that
So
remains.
not since we have a workable solution now. I will also mention
So,
that this was not an advisory committee. This was a committee to evaluate the bid. And I read that a number of times.
Yes, sir.
That was your job, and you didn't do it.
I take great offense to that. I more than did
You
my
didn't
job.
take offense or anything else. You did
That's
not
fine.
do it, you were instructed what to do.
No, well, you wanted me to be an automaton, but I wouldn't. I did my job.
No, you didn't.
Well,
All right, I'm
matter
done.
of opinion.
well, can we stay on that first? So I don't want to mischaracterize anything. You're right, Mayor. I've always been concerned about the employees and if they maintain their jobs. And so if it does go to Aqua, Aqua has given us assurances that they're going to keep our employees as long as they can pass background tests and a drug test. So just to understand this, our extension is good until September 11th. And we haven't, and I'm not trying to mischaracterize, I'm trying to understand. We haven't done anything to find one until we see what's going to happen with whether or not we're going to maintain water or sell the water. So we haven't done anything. But our plan would be, because we won't do anything by September 11th, our plan would be to ask for another extension.
Correct.
And so you guys feel comfortable that we would get that extension?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Brooks here. Oh, I see you back here. Mr.
Quiet
Brooks.
today, can't you, Ken?
You look big quiet.
You know, I just went in the shop. I got a call from paramedics. I can't believe the questions you just asked, Beth. You're not even telling council what your moves are, or potential fines or anything, guys. She's asking questions about things we know. You know, I mean, I'm not upset with you, but you're the leader. They're supposed to know everything you're doing. Everything.
So, with all due respect, I mean, they shared that report with us, right?
Well, then you should have had an answer around your 25,000.
But the question about what have we been doing since that, just filed an extension, that I didn't know, right? That we haven't been working. So I just want to try to be fair across the board there.
I understand, but I mean, you know, when I was in the Marine Corps, our people told us everything we were doing and why. You know, I'm sorry, I'm not in the Marine Corps anymore. Okay, I just want to read this. No one has said that our water plant was not in bad shape. All we asked was that an independent engineer be hired to provide us an up-to-date assessment of how much it would cost to Band-Aid our system, so that the system will hold up until we can get on county water, and what would be needed as far as rate increases. Instead, you hired a public relations firm from Columbus, which also works for Aqua Ohio / America. He was on the Dimitri show this weekend, and he made the statement, he's working for both of them. I consider that the same thing as selling a house and you let me get an appraiser to tell you how much a house is worth. I mean, that's really crazy. But selling our water system will financially devastate our senior citizens and our hardworking families. It may also put in danger the successful passing of any future levies. Once again, Mr. Zucal, I am asking that you provide me in writing a list of all grants which you have applied for in regards to our water system. I am also requesting in writing the names of all places that you advertised for a Class 3 water operator and the salary that was offered. Thank you. Can I get that from you?
Yes. For the record, Bill, I never applied for a Class 3 water record operator anywhere. It's not our intention. It's not our intention. We just told you we asked for an extension, and our intention is to ask for another.
God bless you,
extension.
sir. God
Thank
bless
you.
you, sir.
That's for
$25,000 fine, and you never even applied for one
that
since
fine
March.
is not
I'm
law.
done, sir.
They would have to notify me first, Bill, and they gave us an extension. Our intention is to apply for another extension.
When we look at that, this is September 11th.
I talk to members of the EPA every day, so I'm in daily contact with them. I will talk to them here shortly and write a letter requesting an extension. And if we have to, there's also freelance operators who travel through the area that can do that. So I'll pursue it. I will never put the city in jeopardy. The city will always be well taken care of as long as I'm here, so you will not see a fine.
Thank you, Mr. Gross.
Thank you.
What's the salary for a Class 3?
A salary for a Class 3, the requirements for a Class 3 is you have to have a bachelor's degree, you have to have X amount of hours within the city system, you have to build from a Class 1 to a Class 2 with continuing education. Then when you're eligible, you can apply for a 3. So to answer your question, the average salary, wages, and benefits, Cindy could tell you would be $100,000 plus, I'm sure, for a Class 3.
So that includes benefits, that's
Yes.
30.
Yes.
He just said benefits.
It would
Wages
be, it would
and
be well
benefits.
over $100,000.
Well over 100,000.
So what's well over 100,000?
75,000 is a typical wage package, and our benefit package is around 30 or 40, where it's 35% of that. So you're over 100,000.
$25,000 a day times 4 is how much money, sir?
We're not in jeopardy of being fined, Bill. I can assure you that.
Okay. All right, we'll have our reports. Sergeant Mr. Zucal.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council, guests this evening, thank you. At the last council meeting, I outlined the condition of our 90-year-old water treatment plant and the distribution system. Our current plant has exceeded its useful life, and some parts are literally crumbling. And to demonstrate the condition of the plant, last week, I hosted several members of the media a tour of the plant. What I wasn't able to share during the tour is the fact that our distribution system is also in bad shape. Corrosion inside the mains is responsible for customer frustrations about taste, odor, and discoloration. Almost a quarter of our mains are too small to meet modern fire protection EPA standards. Leaks throughout the system are responsible for the loss of about 30% of the water that leaves our plant. Remember, this water that leaves the plant and is lost has already been paid for by our customers. Water main breaks are responsible for frequent service outages and boil advisories. We have had 5 main breaks just since my report to council from the last meeting. To update our water system, it will cost the city between $20 and $25 million. Not to mention, we're carrying over $3.5 million in debt for past water and sewer projects. These costs don't address any of the needs in our wastewater collection and treatment system. Some people have suggested we simply use water supplied by Belmont County Water Treatment Plant. While someday that might be our best water source, it comes with some big challenges of its own. Currently, the county does not have the capacity at their plant to supply all of our needs. While they have plans to build a new plant, that project is years from completion. Last time the mayor and I talked to the commissioners and the water superintendent, they haven't even signed their papers yet. And the rate that the county charges for us is higher than what we charge our customers, leaving no resources to maintain our distribution system on a daily basis. It all comes down to this. Over the next few years, our water and wastewater system needs millions of dollars in investment, and the city does not have the money. Whatever we do, the city needs to take decisive action to update both our water and wastewater systems. At my last report, I said I'd update you about the availability of funds to help pay for our water and wastewater problems. Finding funding for our water and wastewater system has been an ongoing project since Mayor Pugh appointed me as the Director of Public Service. We've discussed our needs with state and federal office holders several times over the years. There are grants and low-interest loan programs for community utility projects, but communities must demonstrate a need and meet certain criteria to compete for these funds. And again, they are competitive funds, and we compete with other jurisdictions, many much bigger than St. Clairsville. But there are 4 big reasons why we don't qualify to even apply for this assistance. They are outlined in the documents I'll share with you and I put on your desk this evening. One of the biggest obstacles keeping us from qualifying for assistance is that we need to demonstrate that our water and sewer bills have reached certain levels. As a matter of fact, our rates need to be at least 2.5% of the median household income of the city of St. Clairsville. And as I've shared for month after month, the average median household income in St. Clairsville is just near $68,000. We would have to more than double our water rates to even qualify to apply for help. So what happens in a grant process is you don't go out and apply for a loan. You have to be eligible for a loan to apply. So you must be eligible. So our average home, the average home in St. Clairsville, using about 4,000 gallons a month, to apply for loans and grants, of which we do not qualify for grants, only loans, would see their water and sewer costs jump from $86 to $190 per month to meet that loan eligibility for a 4,000 gallon a month bill. Our typical senior citizen paying just $41 currently would see their bill go to $149 monthly to be eligible. Again, it's eligibility, $41 to $149. Mayor Pugh and I believe that doubling the water and sewer rates, we've said this continually, would have an unreasonable impact on our residents, especially those coping with lower fixed incomes. It's our opinion that our constituents want clean, safe drinking water at a fair price. Those kind of increases are not fair. I'm sharing with you copies of the communications from the Rural Community Assistance Program Partnership, RCAP. They're on your desk tonight. The Ohio Environmental Protection Agency. These documents confirm the requirements for steep increases before we could qualify to apply for assistance. There are eligibility requirements. I also am sharing information from RCAP that shows all available funding, sources for these types of projects, and the requirements for their application. Finally, I'm also including a communication about our competitive position in terms of funds from the Ohio Public Works Commission. Without big rate increases, we do not even meet the qualifications to apply for assistance to raise the millions of dollars we need to invest. Again, it's an eligibility question. You must be eligible to apply. You don't apply if you're not eligible. The mayor continues to talk with Aqua Ohio to address questions raised during our review process. We're seeking answers from Aqua, other Ohio communities they serve, and third parties like the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio and the Ohio EPA. We've asked Aqua if they would consider making changes to their proposals. We are in the negotiation phase where attorneys are working diligently and based on council and committee input. I'll update you on our findings at a future meeting, and any proposed agreement will be brought to this council for consideration. We're not at that point. Until then, let me restate, all options for funding are still on the table. Should council choose to increase rates to meet requirements for assistance, only this council has the authority to take that action. And again, council has to pass legislation to be eligible for those loans. We can't afford to wait years until Belmont County builds their new plant. We don't have any guarantees that we'll be able to fill our needs if we could wait. The mayor and I have talked to the county personnel many times. We have yet to get a commitment. The city has delayed fixing our crumbling systems, and the need to increase rates for decades, and the situation is critical as they reach the end of their useful life. The administration expects to bring to you the proposal for the first reading in your eventual consideration in the next few weeks. The city needs to decide on clear direction very soon or face significant consequences for noncompliance with Ohio EPA regulations. This concludes my report this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's a copy of my report, and I've included the letters from RCAP, the Ohio EPA, and all the grant and loan funding sources from RCAP are on your desk tonight, and there's extras on the table.
Is there any questions from council from Mr. Zucal?
There are. So these are the two letters. One is, you're saying is from RCAP?
One is from Curtis Strickland. He's the financial director. You'll see that from Rural Community Action Partnership. The other one is from his counterpart, John Bernstein, who is the financial director for Ohio EPA. And both of them show you in that writing, Beth, that there are 4 limiting factors. The city must meet eligibility with legislation before they can apply for grants. And there's 4 limiting factors there. They're highlighted in yellow.
So have you not had the opportunity to read or digest these letters
Yes.
yet, right? So I talked to Julie Smith today from RCAP,
Yes,
and I assume then that's a co-worker of Curtis's?
could be, I don't know, Julie.
Okay. So, I guess she's willing to come and talk about options, but I guess the first thing I'd want to do is read what he's given us from Curtis, but,
Curtis is the director, so.
okay. So she's willing to come to a council meeting and do a presentation, kind of like presentations we've had in the past from Aqua, from other people that come. So she's willing to do that at the next council meeting. If that's something the council wants to hear, but I'd kind of like to read what we just got here too. And then I continue to have this question, the $20 to $25 million, right? So, I mean, I can just speak for myself and not just speak for anyone else, but clearly I understand, that's never been a debate. That's been what we've talked about for 4 years. And clearly, I can't speak for myself. I have no desire to triple anybody's rates, right? And I've said that from the beginning. But I can't wrap my head around the 20 to 25 million when that's not what the bid says. Nobody's going to build a new plant. So do we need millions? I do. I think that makes sense to me. So I still can't quite understand the 20 to 25 million. And on the next page you say we need millions. I mean, that's the difference. Do we need a couple million? Do we need 25 million? I recognize that we have plan issues and we have distribution issues, right?
You could refer to I gave all council a letter from the W. Quixall.
But again, that's a new plant.
Those are engineers, though.
But that's a new plant.
No, it's also addresses the pipe in the ground and all the other infrastructure that the city needs.
Over periods of time.
Right.
Because nobody's saying, and Aqua's not saying, they're doing everything overnight. I mean, this is a multi-year project, right? So, again, just seeing this for the first time.
Yeah, the main concern, although the plant, we all know, is in poor shape, you got to remember there's 10.4 miles of 4-inch water line in this city that will not allow for fire suppression. It's an EPA violation. It's not adequate. And again, the math is there. That's been substantiated by professional engineers in the state of Ohio. Those numbers have been given to you by Quixels, and it's in all the packets, so. From
So,
Brett Norton and Don Quixel.
again, just one last thing, I apologize, just, so the funding sources, again, just seeing this document for the first time, it very well may be in here, so I apologize for the redundancy. But the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture,
Yes.
would we not, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've got a paper in front of me that says that they're currently accepting applications, and just on this top sheet, rural towns.
The bottom line is, and I don't know how much more clear I can make it, we are eligible for loans. But again, we have to meet that formula to be eligible.
But I guess my understanding all along has been, and that's what you refer to here, is that we need to, you've been very clear, 2.5% of the
Right.
median household income. But I've always understood that to be only if they're EPA loans.
No. The EPA is the authority over drinking water in Ohio. So the loans, there's people who have said, well, can't you get a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers loan, like the city of Cadiz, the village of Cadiz? No, because that's tied to job creation. If you look at that information I gave you tonight, you'll see that in all that information, it substantiates what you have to apply. Some CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, you have to be low to moderate income. And there's not one neighborhood in this community that qualifies for LMI, so we're not eligible. Some of the other grants in there, and ones you'll see that you have to have a poverty level index. We don't meet that. John's letter, John Bernstein from the EPA and Curtis's vote from RCAP, both reflect and show that we're not eligible. I'm validating everything I'm telling you with letters and documentation from the people that sign those packages. So you have to meet that formula for drinking water. It's administered by the Ohio EPA. So you have to have that in place. The city has to have legislation that says, here's our new rate structure before you can apply for that grant. You can't apply for the grant and then and say, well, we'll go to Plan B, and instead of 2.4, let's make it 1.8. It doesn't work that way.
So it's any loan.
It's any loan. If we apply for a loan, yes, for our drinking water, plant or water or pipe in the ground, we have to have the 2.5% of the median household income index. It's eligibility. The mayor and I apply for public works grants every year. You compete on a county level with the county engineer, the village of Barnesville, Powhatan. We compete every year. We apply. We have maxed out our ARC applications, our Appalachian Regional Commission. We've maxed those out. We have existing current loans and debt, which they take into consideration. So Ohio EPA gets loans through what they call the water and sewer revolving loan accounts. And you have to have that eligibility status before you have to provide proof to them that you have that. And I challenge anyone to tell me that I'm not giving you the exact facts. So we have to meet that criteria to be eligible. And the mayor talks directly to Mr. Butler, who's the Ohio EPA chief in Logan, Ohio. And we've talked to him on a personal basis several times. And the numbers, again, Beth, I go back to, there was a report in 1984 from Burgess and Nipel, who are certified engineers. We've taken that path, put it till today, and I've substantiated that with the letter from W. Quixol that Brett Norton and Don, who are licensed engineers, have told the city what it would take to fix the problem. So.
Jim,
Yeah.
the guy from the EPA,
John Bernstein?
Yeah. What does he say about, like, if Aqua comes in, what's his feelings about, I mean, they're not gonna put new pipes in the ground immediately either. I mean, is he gonna be as hard on them as he is on us?
That's Craig Butler. Here, John Bernstein's the finance.
I'm talking about the EPA, the guy that's in charge of EPA.
That would be Craig Butler.
Yeah, there's various, John Bernstein is a financial,
Yeah, I'm not talking about him.
Taylor Carpenter is our local rep, and then Mr. Butler is the chief.
Yeah,
And,
Butler.
yeah, again, Aqua, if I need a chemist at the city, I have to hire a chemist. If I need an engineer, I have to hire an engineer. If I need a Class 3 operator, I have to hire a Class 3 water operator. They have all of those. So the EPA, the mayor, I'm sure it's coming very soon, there will be a letter addressing where the EPA has their compliance.
Actually, one question I asked, and a letter coming, is what was the history of Aqua in the state of Ohio? And also, what's your working relationship with the EPA?
Yeah.
And that'll be coming.
So we have a letter coming from the chief, as the mayor was saying, that will address the compliance matters with the EPA, between the EPA and Aqua Ohio, which I can assure you are minimal, because we've already talked to them. Apologize, I have a sore throat. So. Okay. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any other questions for Jim?
I might after I read this.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on. Mayor. Mr. Pugh.
I only have a few things. One is the July police report. There was 23 criminal arrests, 3 juvenile, 3 warrants served, and 6 domestic standards. There was 106 traffic stops, 85 warnings issued, and 21 citations. And the cars traveled 7,176 miles in patrolling the city. And the police department is to be commended again for giving great coverage and security to the citizens. The only other thing I have is that the recycled bins that were located in the lot adjacent to the rec center have been changed. They are now going to be on the east side of the amphitheater. Actually, people know where the school buses park for in games. It's over in the area, over towards Neff Street. And the majority of them were moved today. It's a new road, and I took it upon myself to name the road since it didn't have a name, behind the visitor stands, and I named it Gino Sessi Drive. For those that haven't been around, he was one heck of a football player, and I still might hold track record with the school. I don't know for sure. Jim was going to check on that. But he was a heck of an athlete, played at Iowa, and I think he deserved a street down there named after him. That's all I have.
Mayor, why were they moved?
Excuse me?
Why were they moved?
Because the school asked me if they could use more for student parking. I swear every student must have a car over there. But because it was so congested down by the elementary building, when they were getting out, parents were going to pick up their children. They all wondered if they could move it into that area, and then they're going to have the students enter right on the South Sugar and not have the congestion down in the elementary area.
Okay. Any questions for the mayor? Thank you, Mayor. Move on to our police chief, Mr. Henry.
I don't have anything this evening.
Any questions for the police chief? Thank you. Finance director?
Two things. First, you have resolution 2019-20. This is required by OPWC. It is the result of the mayor applying for and getting and Jim the $800,000 loan that we'll be going forward with for the Bellevue Sanitary Storms Separation Project. It's part of the package that they put together when they authorized this. They want us to put this in, or if we use any of our permanent improvement or capital projects funding, we'll be able to go back into there and back that money back out and get it back so we can use it for something else that we need. And this is just a document they've come up with that they want us to do. We did one on the last one for the water tank, and that was a $400,000 grant, $400,000 loan. So that's here.
And Cindy, if I understand correctly, you do not need it passed as an emergency.
No, that's totally up to council. I've already signed the documents that have obligated us to the promissory note for this. They didn't give me a deadline as to when I had to have it in, but I'm just getting my stuff done. Second thing is, just for your information, we're negotiating our healthcare rates again. I went over this in detail with finance. I think I bored poor Mike to death with numbers, because that's what he does for a living. But anyhow, we were hit with a 25% increase again this year, which is devastating in my opinion, but we have a broker, and they negotiated and were able to secure where we could join what they call a MEWAC. I'm not going to tell you what that stands for because I don't remember. But anyhow, it would be with a different insurance carrier. We're currently with MedMutual, and we could migrate over to Anthem. However, we don't make that decision. The two unions here do, because they have language in their contracts that state that they get the same or similar insurance. The difference in this program is we currently pick up their $2,000, $4,000 deductible annually, $2,000 being single and $4,000 being family. We started out doing this several years ago when we got hit with a 36.5% increase, and it was actually, we bank on no one using their insurance for this to be a profitable or not profitable, but decent situation. This plan would increase that by $500 on the family plan and $1,000 on the single. I'm not an advocate of the city taking on any more of that. The other things that would increase would be doctor co-pays by $10 or $20 a visit. Emergency room would go from $150 to $400. Urgent care would go from $35 to $55. But the beauty of it is the employees and the percentage that they pay out of pocket, and I'll just give you one example. They would go from a family plan out of pocket of $110 roughly to $77. So it'd be a significant savings on that side for them. So the mayor and Jim have a meeting with the union reps. I think they have till Wednesday to get back with us on a date. This clock is ticking. This is due by the end of the month. I would hope that they would sincerely consider this, because it will be a result of a $172,000 savings to the city. It leads to a 31.96% decrease. That's all I have.
And that's the union decision.
That's FOP and asking you and having to approve it, yes.
I got a question about the resolution.
Yes.
About this. This is for the project at your City Hall here, the Bellevue area.
Yeah, start
Second
getting
ward.
this down over again.
Now, is that complete? Is that once this is spent and they implement this, that whole drainage situation over there will be up to snuff?
The actual project, I'm sorry.
So it's going to alleviate the flooding?
Oh, yes.
That's the point of this?
This isn't the whole cost of that project.
Oh, no, this is
A portion of it. The project's gonna be about 1.5 million.
That 500,000 is what I understood from the conversations before.
It's anywhere from 1.3 to 1.5.
But we have funding, we have grants for that, right? Minus the 800,000.
There's no grants for it.
No, we're still looking for more money.
A question. This will probably for Jim. If we pass this on an emergency basis, will this speed up the work for those
No.
people?
It's not important.
Okay.
So the total cost for that repair is about 1.5? Okay,
Right.
1.3, 1.5,
The engineer's estimate's 1.5.
okay.
And that's where in the aqua bid, dedicated, at least in the bid, I don't know what the contract's gonna say, I don't see, but 500,000 to this, specifically to this project.
Out of the 1.5, or
No,
1.2.
if we got this 800,000,
Yeah.
then in the aqua bid, if we sell water to aqua, they're giving $500,000. We're not giving, that's the wrong word, but they're allocating
Which
$500,000.
would be the total cost of the
Which would be
project.
the total cost of the project.
No.
We have
It's still
$100,000.
We'd still be short, we still, first of all, we're hoping for a good bid on the project. So 800 plus 500 would be 1.3. We still need to come up with some money. But then again, we hope the bid is below the engineer's estimate.
And passing as an emergency doesn't help.
This is a formality for OPWC paperwork only. This has nothing to do with whether we've got anything we've already gotten and secured this 800,000, or we'll be getting it. This is just a formality that they require for us if we're asking for any reimbursement of our upfront costs. That's all it is. Doesn't have anything to do with actually physically getting the money.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. All questions? Cindy? Thank you very much. We're going to move on to our planning and zoning administrator, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you. Just a couple items. Construction has started on the structure that will house the Olympic Taekwondo. Many of you might have noticed that if you're heading out toward the Respect Plaza. Again, that structure will be in front of the Knights of Columbus building. I was talking to the contractor today, and their hope and their plan is to have that project completed by the end of this year. And then Pizza Milano, that's still moving forward. I think the owner would love to see it moving forward a little quicker. There's no confirmed date on when it will be completed, but it should be completed long before the end of this year. If the council does have any questions, feel free to contact me or ask me a question or stop in.
Any questions for Tom? Thank you. One of our committee.
You know, I'm sorry, I did have one more question on Jim's report. Just as Tom was talking, something we need to think about. Water tours you did for the media,
Yes.
is there an option for residents?
We have been concerned about taking residents to Mayor. I know we've taken a few people because of the safety issues. Again, you've been in there, you know, the steps are wet, they're concrete, basement floor is a slippery mess. So we've been very concerned about the liability of the city. There's going to be some video out. Again, I asked the folks, the constituents, to go to our website. You're going to see more information all the time. We're going to put some video on there. And again, we've been very cautious just due to the liability reasons. I think Mr. Miser would agree with that.
I agree.
So there will, what, you pass on this information, there will be no tours for citizens.
We have given some that have asked that come along, and the mayor and I felt that it was proper to take them. We were very careful, but if a person wants to ask, we will consider not who the person is, but with the ability of that person to function in that facility. Again, our insurance is a huge liability to the city.
If anyone does, have them call Kathy.
Kathy,
Call Kathy.
it's not very safe in there.
Okay. Move on to committees. Mike, finance.
I don't have anything, but I just want to talk about the audit report. The audit report is in. I don't know if everybody received it. It's 2018. These things take some time to get in, but it's a clean report, and credit goes to Cindy. She does a pretty good job with this stuff. There's no findings or anything like that, so good job, Cindy.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mike? Thank you, Mike. Move on to utilities. Frank's not here this evening. Anybody else have anything on utilities? Okay. Please, Mark. Any questions for Mark? Thank you. Street north side, Jim?
The only thing I have is there's still a couple of small alleys and things that are scheduled to be paved, hopefully by the end of summer. They're pretty bad, but it all going to depend on when the township gets caught up with their slip repairs because they have to use their small paver because of the narrows width of the street. So hopefully those, I'm told, will hopefully be done by end of September, early October, hopefully.
Any questions for Jim?
Just one comment for the streets north. Hey Donnie, thank you for taking care of that street.
Well,
Over on the other side of town here. You saved that lady a muffler.
All right. Street south side, Beth?
I just have a question for Donnie. I saw you, I think it was one day last week, they were out a really long time on Route 9 there, you know, like on the way to the BP. What was going on there?
Those water breaks.
Okay. Because that was several hours.
Yeah.
Several days.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time there.
It-
2 separate locations.
Okay now?
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. that was a
Any
question.
questions for Beth? Thank you. Safety, Jim?
The only thing I have, I believe, the last Thursday of the month will be the next safety meeting at the city garage at 9 o'clock. If anybody would have the opportunity to attend, get some pretty interesting information.
Any questions for Jim on safety? Thank you. Buildings and grounds, Perry?
Nothing today.
Questions for Perry? Thank you. Planning Commission, Mike?
Nothing.
Questions for Mike? Thank you. Fire District, Frank's here. Rec report, Linda?
No report. Next meeting is Monday, September 16th. And as for the park, tomorrow and Thursday are the last nights for the Moonlight Swim. And now the pool is only open on weekends because school has started. Labor Day is the last day, and the next meeting is Monday, August 26th.
Thank you. Any questions for Linda? Okay, thank you, Linda. Move on to our orders and resolutions. Director, Mr. Meiser.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight we have only one piece of legislation, and that is Resolution 2019-20 that you have in front of you. That's the legislation that the Finance Director explained to you earlier. It's kind of an administrative function matter that we have for the Bellevue Sanitary and Storm Sewer Project. There is emergency language in the resolution. If you wanted to suspend the rules, pass it tonight, get it out of the way, we can. If you want to read it for the next 3 sessions, we can. The administration is not asking that you necessarily pass it on an emergency basis, but you could pass it tonight if you wish. No one has said anything to me about going into an executive session tonight, and I have nothing further tonight.
Thank you. Any questions for Director? Okay, thank you. We have any new business?
I have just a couple things. Do we want to do this first? Or we just read it?
Yeah, I'm thinking. Okay, we'll read Resolution 2019-20 on its first reading.
Resolution number 2019-20, resolution declaring the official intent and reasonable expectation of the city of St. Clairsville on behalf of the state of Ohio, the borrower, to reimburse its Permanent Improvement Projects Fund for the Bellevue Sanitary and Storm Sewer Separation Project, OPWC project number CR30W, with the proceeds of tax-exempt debt of the state of Ohio and declaring an emergency.
You heard the reading of Resolution 2019-20 on its first reading. Is there any further action? I will table that until the next meeting. Thank you. Okay, now, into
Yeah.
business.
So, one I should have asked before, I apologize for being out of order, but just the contract, like, just where are we in that process? And then I was just wondering how much it costs. The contract, you guys, the attorneys are looking at this contract for our consideration for the Aqua, right?
Sure.
So where are we with that? And then what do we, how much is the attorneys costing us?
Well, first of all, our attorney is Kim Boyko with Carpenter, Lips and Leyland. She's out of Columbus. She emailed me today. They're going through what they call red line adjustments. They're looking at our assets. She's working with their attorney. So we don't have anything yet. There is an agreement in place. We haven't been billed yet that I know of. So when we get that, we'll let you know. So
Ballpark it, is it so much
she's
an hour?
given us an hourly rate. Yeah, I don't know exactly.
I don't remember.
I don't remember what I'm not prepared to answer that.
I'll look it up tomorrow and email.
Yeah.
Did you email the hourly, so it's an hourly rate?
Yes.
And then the second thing I just wanted to address, now with this new business, I'm not sure where it goes, but I just want to address it publicly. I get a letter from the mayor, and I want to address it publicly because I think it's a public matter. So I got a letter from the mayor about the water, and his disappointment is my word, not his, in the letter, of me not meeting with him properly. So I want to just say a couple things about that. That he appreciates the council members, Mr. Sabatino, Mr. Bukmir, Mr. Velas, and Ms. Jordan, have all met with him as the Director of Public Services and City Finance Director to address their personal concerns. So there, I just want to say that I have no doubt, and I have always, anytime I've had a question to the mayor or the service director or Cindy, anybody has taken my questions or met with me. I mean, I respect the open door policy, and I appreciate that that's there. But I just don't see this as a behind the door kind of thing. And so that's why I felt like I needed to address it publicly. I'm not coming to, asking for a meeting because I feel like this is a public issue. And I feel like it gets down to just like a fundamental philosophical difference in government business. And I believe this needs to be in the open. And that's why, I mean, there's a lot I take exception to this letter, like I don't care, like I do care. Like I want to do the right thing. I'm trying to get all the information. So there's things in this letter that I kind of take offense to, but the reason that I haven't asked for, hey Mayor, I know that I can pick up the phone at any time and say, hey Mayor, and you take my call and you set a meeting, but that's why I haven't. I feel like this is really an issue for in the open. And the other thing that I'll just say that I see, I'm not speaking for council, I'm speaking for myself, that the way I interpret my job, right, is to listen to the citizens. So when I get a request to attend a rally, it doesn't mean I agree or disagree, but my job is to listen. So I just want to say that I do see that as part of my responsibility to listen to the citizens. And so I just felt like I needed to say that.
Well, if I may answer you?
Absolutely.
I've said this, and I even said this at Mr. Brooks' first rally. My door is open anytime to sit down and discuss it. I don't do things behind closed doors. And what I meant was there was 4 councilmen that came in with valid questions, and we sat down and looked at the facts. And they brought in questions from their constituents. And we answered the questions, they took it down, they called them back. But then I went to the rally and I heard, well, we need more time. Well, this has been going on for years. This isn't something new, we're talking about these water and sewer problems. But the fact that I heard out of councilmen's mouths, we need more time, or we don't have the information. Well, there's never been a time that I haven't been willing, or Jim hasn't been willing, to take anybody to any place in this city and say, this is the problem, this is what we're talking about. All I was trying to say is, I took offense that we don't have the information. When it's there, all you have to do is ask for it.
And some of this
Now, that's
information
my
we have-
stance on it.
Sure.
And there sure was nothing behind closed doors
So
at all.
but we've just got some of this information tonight.
Yeah,
So I'm
and
just
if
saying
you
that
came
we're-
in and we sat down, you probably, Tim Porter came in, sat down, we discussed it. I mean, I'm more than willing, as Jim is, or anybody else in the city, to broaden anybody's knowledge on any subject. So yeah, you might have taken offense to my letter. I took offense that you never came in and talked to it.
So I feel like that's a bit of a miscarriage. I mean, I have sent emails, I've asked for information, I've been public in my questions. And this is just something that I wanted to address. I didn't want you to think I didn't get the letter, that I ignored the letter, but I feel strongly about some of the connotations and the statements of the letter.
Well, I felt strongly about writing the letter the way I voted.
Fair
And
enough.
I'd be willing to release the letter to the public and let them judge it as well.
I'd like a copy.
Excuse me?
I'd like a copy.
I'm more than happy to give a copy of mine with my notes. So.
My name was brought up, sir, so if I may, that was not a Bill Brooks rally. Bill Brooks rally would be Bill Brooks for mayor. That was a rally for the people to attend, to hear information on the water situation. As far as us coming, them coming to you, you came to us when you wanted votes.
Mr. Brother,
You come to us again. Thank you. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Mr. Ford.
You don't have the floor. Please, whatever.
I'm Al Bass, resident of the city for over 55 years. It seems to me, going back to the request for a loan, the qualifications appear to be in a box. Everyone pays the same rate. While I'm sitting here listening to that, a thought pops into my mind. Would it be possible to work on a progressive water rate based on income needs? Do a needs test on income, perhaps set up a 3-tier system, low income, middle income, high income. The rates go up accordingly to income so that by the time you reach that level, you've reached your 2.5% aggregate from all 3 income levels. It's an out-of-the-box question or an out-of-the-box idea, but it seems to me that we're in a box with a constant rate for everybody.
Mr. Bass, I appreciate your information, but you must register to come in and speak. I'm sorry. But I'll let you talk, so we understand and thank you.
Okay.
The question's out there, sir. It can be done. I mean, I have no idea. Do they need?
Well, here's the thing that we must remember. So now, again, we have to meet the requirements of the Ohio EPA. The EPA sets the formulas. We do not. So now we're qualifying based on income. We're qualifying with a progressive tier. The reason the EPA does that is they want to have the city to have the ability to pay back the money. Loans, grants, bonds are somebody else's money. You have to pay them back. It's the analogy I've used, and again, I've been talking to this council for over 2 years about the condition of the water and sewer rates. I have everything documented. I've given numerous handouts, duplicate handouts. I have records of when we have to fulfill the requirements of the Ohio EPA. It's not this council, it's not the administration, it's satisfying the EPA. And the analogy I've used, getting back to, as I said, you can't go out and ask for a new car, but you gotta pay $500 a month and you only make $300. They're not gonna allow it. And anybody that wants to substantiate that, contact the Ohio EPA, let them prove me wrong. And again, it's a great idea. I'm not saying there aren't better ideas. All funding options are on the table. I appreciate that, Mr. Bass. There's always good ideas. But again, we have to answer to the Ohio EPA, and that's the problem. So it's an eligibility issue. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your input, Mr. Bass. Anything else come before this council? Our next meeting will be Tuesday, September the 3rd in this council chamber. Do I have a motion for dismissal? Barry, Mike. Thank you all for coming.